If you want to see me throw some food together and then come out with me and go trucking tonight, you're at the right spot. Let's get after it. So got the family all fed, asking the kids when I picked them up from school today, hey, what sounds good? And they're like, let's do tacos. We haven't done those in a while. The thing I love about tacos is they're a meal I can pretty much put together by myself. I don't need my wife's help. When she's around and we're cooking together, I'm for sure the sous chef. But tacos are something I can take care of on my own. Got them fed, got Lou fed. Really no intention of working tonight. Loads have been scarce. Rates have been low. Nothing really caught my attention, but this little setup, I was at the store buying the ingredients for tacos, and this little setup, they started throwing money up at Poway, and it's like, if you're not familiar with Poway, or if you're not familiar with San Diego, Poway is kind of like our neighbor to the north. There's a back way there. My only issue now is I booked this load kind of last minute. I'm due there at 9:01, and according to my Amazon GPS, I'm not going to get there till 9:02, which is going to put me after my scheduled arrival time. But I'm willing to bet somewhere over the next 21 miles, I can make that minute up. So a normal, rational adult would see that GPS arrival time showing them after, and they would just say, they'd start making some contingency plans, like, hey, I'm going to be late, Me, on the other hand, I see that, and it's like, challenge accepted. I'll bet you we beat that. Got here at 8:56. Be sure and grab, this light may be a bit much. Be sure and grab these screens of that arrival successfully detected, 8:56. Just got my Y check-in here at DSD8, and now I'm just waiting on dock door 115 to turn green. All right, 115 just turned green, got connected to it, safety inspected it, tug test. All I got to do now is close these trailer doors and get this thing down to Otay. All right, so just finished up the first load, little DSD8 to San 3, Poway to Otay. Made it here, dropped off the trailer, went out of the gate, started the next load. Immediately, got that arrival successfully detected in their parking lot. Just did a U-turn, came right back in, and now I'm just sitting here watching the app, waiting for a trailer light to turn green. But while I was up in Poway, I did run across, I walked in there, I was the second guy there, and I got in there, and the guy ahead of me, I could tell by the look in his eyes, I could tell this guy was like pressed for time. I was just, it's like, I've been there before, tonight I've got like a big gap in my night, or, an hour and a half gap. I'm in no hurry at all, and I could just tell that this guy was like pressed for time, obviously needed somewhere to be after that, and I just start a little conversation. I'm like, hey, how you doing tonight? And we start talking and everything. He's, sure enough, he's got it wasn't double booked, but he had a load booked after this and then one after that, and he was kind of on a time schedule. And I've been there and in no rush. I'm not telling you this to tell you what a good guy I am. It's not what I'm doing. I'll get to that in a minute. But it's just like, hey, what can we do to get you out of here? And we both got checked out at the same time. I'm like, hey, just pull the trailer out. I'll close the back. I'll give you a little flash on the flashlight, and that way you're good to go. You can get on down the road. He was pressed for time, but he had enough time. We got out of the big car, out of the truck, started talking a little bit, and he's like, it's so good to meet people like you. We were both friendly with one another, and we start kind of chatting like old friends. And it's like, I kind of told him my situation. I'm like, yeah, I used to do something totally else, totally separate, in this truck now, absolutely loving it. I've got plenty of time. Like, what can I do to help you get out of here? Type of stuff like that. He was excited. A gentleman named Foddy. We sat there and talked for like 5 minutes. Found out we're going to the same place and everything like that. Long story short, I don't tell you this story to make you think that I'm this great person. I see how truckers kind of treat one another. And I'll be honest, I had a poor opinion of truckers prior to getting into this line of work. I'm one of those things, and I love living this life because it's like, it gets to show me how wrong I was about things. And it's like, rather than exposing one another, like, look at this guy back up, look how bad he did, and all this stuff like that. It's like, you know, what if we just showed one another like a little bit of grace and that type of stuff? I mean, it just, long story short, you're never going to see me post videos of people doing something stupid, because even though I'm not super religious, it's like I do kind of believe in that saying of like, by the grace of God, that's me. And for sure, I mean, you want to see me I'm surprised I didn't make it onto a Bonehead Truckers thing when I first started this bit. So anyways, good to show him some grace. I'm telling this story for Foddy. I told him about the channel. He said he's going to subscribe. So hello, Foddy. I hope you like the content. I hope it, you know, meets your standard of what you were looking for. So as Foddy and I were saying bye, you know, one of the last things we were talking about is we're talking about the Amazon grade, and he was saying how it's crazy. Sometimes they make up stuff, and you know, actually that was going to be the purpose of tonight's video. I did have to put some time, some space between me and when this happened, but I'm glad I did. If I had made this video 48 hours ago, it would not be like this at all. It would be, I'd either be beeping out a lot of stuff, or I'd probably be getting fired, or I don't know if it's possible to get fired. I never was hired. I'm a contract worker. I'd for sure be getting let go. But, you know, one thing that I try to prepare people for with this channel, and again, not that I'm some great source of information, but one thing that I do try to prepare people for is the fight that you possibly are getting into with Amazon, and it's a perpetual fight. And you know, I mean, I make a money video. I don't really like making money videos. I've made 2 officially the reason I don't like it is I feel like people then get on and they have this unrealistic expectation of like, oh, I'm going to jump into Amazon and make this money, and they're not even focused on the grade. They're not even focused on the performance. They're not, you know, they're looking at the wrong stuff. If you're going into Amazon with the focus being on the money and nothing being on the grade, if you don't know how to do a performance dispute, if you don't know how to do a payment dispute, you are absolutely setting yourself up for failure. There's no doubt about it. But I figured I'd break down what happened to me the other night. I got to get comfortable for this. This may be a minute. So the other night, I was due down in Otay at 1 o'clock. Now, I showed up at 11:30. That's just kind of the work ethic I bring. I'm a big believer in if you're on time, you're late, and if you're early, you're on time type of thing. And so, you know, I got here an hour and a half early for a load. Now, 1:26, after being here for 2 hours, my arrival time was 1, my scheduled departure time was 2. 1:26, I get the first notification on the app telling me the trailer's ready. Now, I'm going to include this part of the story. It's going to be important in a minute. At 1:28, I get a call from ROC telling me, or asking me, why are you still in the yard? The trailer's ready. And it's like, I just found out about this 2 minutes ago. What I was actually doing is I already cranked up the truck, putting my hair in a ponytail, getting my shoes on, and I was on my way to the trailer. But 2 minutes had passed before they were on me saying, why are you still in the yard? So I get off that phone call, I get the trailer all hooked up. I was going to a third-party site, and I get to the third-party site at 1:46, and there are 4 trucks ahead of me, and the third-party site's closed for lunch until 2 o'clock. Now, I'm good at identifying when these loads start going sideways. I immediately know this load is absolutely going to go sideways, because my scheduled departure time from this third-party site was like 2:35, 2:40, and there's 4 trucks ahead of me waiting for 2 dock doors, and I'm the 5th truck. So I immediately get on to load notes. I put a little note in there, hey, site's closed, more to come after 2 o'clock. I'll have a better assessment at that time. And I try to do like a callback from ROC. Now I need ROC. And I do this callback, and a screen comes up saying, uh-oh, something's wrong on our end. And I'm just like, oh my God. So 2 o'clock comes around. They open back up from lunch. I've left 1 load note at this point, and they open from lunch. I go walking in. I'm trying to check in, like to get that Y check-in that actually proves that I'm there. And they tell me, oh, we don't check you in until you're at a dock door. Cool. I go back to the truck, sit down, another load note. Hey, they're now open. No estimate on time. And they just opened back up. I can't check in until I get a dock door. There's 4 trucks ahead of me. Request another callback from ROC. Now, this second callback, same screen as before. Uh-oh, something's wrong on our end. And so I'm out there, you know, taking a video of all the trucks ahead of me. I'm taking screenshots like crazy. And you might be thinking at this point, like, oh, well, yeah, you're just doing this because you make content for YouTube and you just want to show us. You're 100% wrong. I do this on every load. I've made prior content on how to protect your grade with pictures, with screenshots, with screen grabs, screen records, whatever you want to call it. I do this, and to be honest, if the load had just ended at this point, you wouldn't even be hearing about this. This is what I do. This is my process. Feel free to take any of this process as your own, and I would encourage you strongly to do so, because if you're not, you're just setting yourself up for failure. So finally at like 3:05, I get to a dock door, I get checked in, they start unloading it. Not a lot in the trailer, didn't take them very long, but it's now time to leave. And again, I've tried all these callbacks from ROC, nothing, not a word. It's time to leave, and it comes up in the app saying, oh, there's no trailer available. Now, everybody before me, and I've been to this site before, you leave with the trailer you came with. There's not enough room there. So I go, just to be diligent, I go walking into the place, and I'm like, hey, the app is telling me that there's no trailer. What should I do? And they say, you absolutely must take the trailer you came with. We don't have room for it. And the one picture I wish I had taken a picture of all the trucks waiting behind me, because there now were 6 trucks in line, where before I was the 5th one. 6 more trucks had shown up after me. So there was no way for me to leave it. I now request, I pull out of the way, so I'm out of everybody's way, get off to the corner, and I request another callback from ROC, like, hey, the app is hung up. I can't leave the trailer here. You know, this is what I was going to tell them, but all I can do is request a callback. 10 minutes go by, nothing from them. The place is telling me I need to take it. Where I was supposed to take this trailer, what I initially signed up for, was taking it 3 miles down the road back to, I believe it was Sand 5. So I'm like, okay, executive decision time. The app's hung up. I'm going to just go back to Sand 5. It's 3 miles. It's an empty trailer. Like, if the trailer's not supposed to be here, I'll bring it back to TIJ 5 unless ROC calls me in the meantime. I get down to Sand 5, check in, I tell them what's going on. The app's hung up. I've requested a callback from ROC. What should I do? And they're like, nope, the trailer's supposed to be here. Go put it in spot 857. So I take it down to 857. I drop it off. I pull the truck away from it. I take a proof of life picture, because at this point I'm kind of like flying blind with no guidance from ROC. I finally get pulled out of there, and at that time was the first time ROC finally calls me back. And I said, hey guys, you know, this is what's happened. ROC guy's like, oh, don't worry about it. It shows complete on our end. You did what you were supposed to do and all this stuff. And keep in mind, this is my 3rd callback request that I finally hear back. And I think everything's good. And he gives me some instructions, restart the app, all this stuff, see if it clears out. It shows it's clear on our end. Everything's good. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I do all that stuff. Nothing's working, and it was my last load of the night. I was going home after this anyway, and just by happenstance, I sit there and I'm like, let's just be sure that everything looks good on my performance end. So I go to the performance end, and I'm like, defaults to last 6 weeks, show me the last 7 days, and I look at it. They've marked my app usage down a lot. And it went down a lot because I haven't really done many loads this week. And it's just, I get this crushing feeling. I mean, it's just like, you got to be kidding me. You've absolutely got to be kidding me. And they're marking me down on app usage because the app wasn't running, according to them, from TIJ5 back to Sand, but from the third-party site back to Sand 5. And it's just like, I'm like beside myself at this point. And since I can't get it to clear, I request a callback. This time they call me back, and they're like, I tell them, I'm like, look, my performance got marked down. Now, I know that ROC can't fix performance, but I want this thing cleared out of my queue, because if I book another load, I can't start it because I have this load tied up in my queue. Long story short, he's like, oh yeah, I'll put a note in here about your performance that all the blah, blah, blah. And it's like, great. And he gives me additional instructions. Uninstall the app, reinstall it, be sure it's updated. I do all this stuff. I'm recording it, screenshots. I get the GoPro out and I'm recording myself deleting the app, reinstalling it. The app that stays in there, that stayed in my queue until I believe 7:30 in the morning. This load was done at like 3:20, 3:25. So it stayed in my queue. I wouldn't have been able to book anything else, and it was hung up on this screen, preventing me from doing anything for 4 more hours. So I'm driving home, load stuck in my work queue, performance score marked down, and I'm just beside myself. I mean, it's just like, I kind of, and I'll tell you, on that drive home, I was coming up to the 125, I kind of had what people would say like a come to Jesus moment. It was just one of those things where it's like, what the hell am I doing? I mean, this is it. Looking at the load board as much as I do is a full-time job. Coming out and running these loads at night and executing them perfectly is another full-time job. Having to document everything, every step of the way, is exhausting. And then, you might be thinking, oh, well, you're just unlucky. This never happens. This is a rare thing. This, for every 30 loads I book, this happens twice. And it's like, and to now be doing the dispute and to have my earning potential over the next 6 weeks dependent on somebody from Amazon, whether it's a person or AI, subjectively agreeing with the objective data that I provide them, is just beyond frustrating. And that's why I waited a couple days to make this video, because I knew that if I made it that night, I mean, I was ready to be like, look, fire me, I quit, I'm done, I can't. And that's why I share this story. I just want you to know that if you're getting into Amazon, their system is set up to where you have to be hyper diligent, vigilant, whatever you want to say, to be sure that you're documenting everything as far as your grade. Now, some people, like, it's not worth the hassle. I hear from a lot of people who are like, you know, Amazon doesn't respect their drivers. Amazon doesn't treat their drivers well. And I always say, like, can you be specific? Like, just tell me specifically what you're talking about. And that's always the same generic stuff. And, you know, if I'm going to bring forward a complaint, I want to be real specific about it. I want to say, like, hey, look, your system is kind of broken, and kind of, you know, it sets people up for failure, and it makes you feel like, you know, like, I own this company, I own this truck, I want to feel like I'm in control of something. And like, the money that you make with Amazon sometimes isn't in your control, because the disputes you do, you're hoping on your end, man, I hope they agree with what I'm saying, even though you did everything perfect. I feel like with the load I did, I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, give me a button, give me a medal. I used to get that crap in pharmacy and I hated it. It's like, oh, you did a good job, here's a button. It's like, I don't want a button. Like, buy me lunch, pay me more. I could care less about a button. But, you know, it's like, I feel like they should be coming to me saying, like, hey, you were set up for failure on this and you did a fantastic job. Like, that's way more than I expect. But to be told you did a step wrong and now your money could be affected by it for the next 6 weeks is just, it's infuriating. But the more I think about it, it's just part of their process. It's just, it's one of those things where it's like, it is exhausting. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to misrepresent this. It's absolutely exhausting, but it's the type of thing that if you're gonna make Amazon work, it's a fight you have to be preparing for today. So why stick with Amazon? I mean, if it's this crazy, like, why not find something else? I do this last thing, this drive home, this last time, does make me want to diversify more. I may in the future look at Amazon. I know I'll fully admit I've put too many eggs in the Amazon basket. I would like to diversify a little bit more and kind of get out there and see what else is out there. I'm aware of that shortcoming, abundantly aware of it. But, you know, it also is a night like tonight. It's ultra convenient to be, you know, no plans to work because I'm not seeing anything, and then say, hey, you know, we're willing to throw some decent money if you bring a trailer back from Otay, and hey, we'll throw even more money if you do a round trip in it. You know, that's really convenient. I have to weigh the good with the bad. So just know the fight that you're getting into. That's all I've got. I mean, just know that fight that you're getting into, and just know that, you know, the story I just told, if you work for Amazon and they don't change the way that they do things, this story 100% is in your future. What's my big confession tonight? I wasn't planning on working. I'm trucking in Crocs tonight. It kind of goes against what I normally do, but about 45 minutes before I was due where I was due, I was cleaning up the kitchen after making those tacos. I had no intention of working tonight, and here I am. So, as always, I hope this video serves you well. Appreciate you for watching. Take care.